met the band, their previous management had put them in overalls. The first thing I did was to say the overalls have got to go. Eventually we did the video, The One Thing, which is the first time the band went from being a sort of straight, more sort of rock and roll sort of band to being a bit showbiz, a bit sort of movie star. You know, the instruments were sort of kept a little bit, there's only just, I can't remember, there's just sort of, little cuts to the instruments, but it was mainly around the table. It was a bit sort of sexy and everyone was going, oh geez, and all that sort of business. So that went on, and again, that happened right at the beginning of Shabbat. When I went to America, I think in November, I sort of got there and there was a big news that MTV was kicking off and MTV was going to be this, and to me it wasn't such a big deal because we've been doing a countdown and videos all our lives, so I was wondering what all this was about. So I actually sat down and sort of had a look at all this and thought, my God, this is our train ticket, this is our passport. I was sitting there by myself late on Saturday night, having a glass of wine, and what I think it was still Rage at that stage came on, and a video came on called Saturday Night for Cold Chisel, and I stood there and I nearly fell out of my chair again. Who did that? So come Monday morning, I still remember saying to Gary, call whoever you call and find out who that guy is. Okay, who directed that Cold Chisel video. We've got to own that guy. So it's a true story. And next to Gary, a couple of hours later, said, oh look, this guy, we found him. This guy called Richard Lonston. It sounds really weird on the phone.
I get this phone call from sort of this crazed band manager and saying, have you ever heard of INXS? And I'm sort of going, because I was from the Melbourne punk scene, I was sort of going, and they were a mainstream band at that time, I was sort of going, yeah, sort of. And they said, just grab a camera, grab whoever you want and come and, be here tomorrow. So I sort of said, that sort of insanity you can't really fight. So I got me and my girlfriend, Lynn Marie Milburn, who turned out to be one of the other main directors of the INXS videos, and my friend Troy, who was a makeup stylist, co-director. We all hopped on the plane very pale in Melbourne and punk, sort of really pale. We actually hadn't seen sun for about 3 years, and deliberately we hid when the sun came out. There was these 5 or 6 guys in Bermuda shorts and board shorts and colours and brown tans with all the beautiful girlfriends all lying around the pool going, hi, how's it going? And we're literally all in black, looking like vampires. And I remember Michael gets up off his banana lounge and I think his girlfriend, Michelle Bennett at the time, knew Troy, and so he got up and sort of loped across and, shook my hand and said, hi, I'm Michael, and, and Michelle went and said hello to Troy and everything. And we wanted to do a video, and sort of, I had I think it was a clockwork camera. It was just one of those ones you wind up a bolt, and we just sort of became, hung out with them. Within 3 days, I think we were on some boat scuba diving or diving from the barrier reef, sort of, and filming bits and pieces for what was then to become Burn For You.
Richard wasn't only a director, he was also a lighting person, he was also a cameraman, he was also a director, he was the writer, he was the one that came up with ideas, he was the one that went to meetings, where he got his producer to go to meetings. Lynn did the animation, she came up with old concepts in film that hadn't been used since the 20s, that she was so prolific and spent hours painting the tiniest cells, so just incredible work that you just don't get done.
Richard made me a trade-off. He'd make me this video called, which was What You Need, and I was going to have this piculation to do this and that and whatever. And I go, yeah, well, if you guarantee me this is going to be a ball buster, this is going to this is going to give, I need something to walk into MTV and to get to our next stage of our career. I need something to blow their tits off. Like, seriously, goes, yeah, right then, I'll give you that. Yeah, if you let Michael do the film, I'll do it. And that was it. That was basically the trade-off. What you need for Michael doing Dogs in Space.
We arranged the shoot. Lynn came and did it with the still camera. We shot hundreds of rolls, little 35mm rolls on a Nikon with a 5 frames a second motor drive. You know, I left the country with her, you know, with a room full of piles of these photographs, starting the ripping, and we warned Chris Murphy and the band, you know, we'll do this, but it's going to take 3 months really to get your finished video. So, but it's going to be worth it, you know. I don't think anyone would have seen this before.
There was always a sense of doing, you know, everything did seem fairly newish. Richard's a genius, and, you know, he'd sort of become like I guess a seventh member of the band. And so with What You Need, definitely no one had used this process before, at least in a video that we're aware of. And they painted our faces white with paint and put bits of black paint on and black clothes, just so there was a major contrast between sort of the clothing and our skin.
And I tell you, I put this video on, I think I closed my eyes. I had no idea. And they sat there in total silence, and then they all just turned around to me in the background and go, it's fantastic. And that was the start of it. Then after that energy went to MTV, and then in our New York office we get phone calls all the time. Who's the guy who did your video? And Coca-Cola rang go, who's the guy who did the video? And I went, oh my God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to keep Richard in our camp?
I've taken them from jeans to t-shirt. That wasn't hard. That was like, do you really want to look like that? Have a look at them, man. Do you really want to look like that? I don't think so. Try this out.
Troy came along as a component to Richard, and at first I was going, what the hell was Troy? But I tell you what Troy did, and he did a great job on imaging. Friggin' hell, he did a great job, because if you have a look, there's a point, and the band's a bit scattering, and it's all our fault. It's my fault, it's their fault. And we're a bit scattery, and then there's a sort of a point. And from there, the band just looks great. And I used to get those videos back and go, yes.
Slide over here and give me a moment. Your moves are so raw, I've got to let you know.
I Need You Tonight and Mediate were basically really big hits around the world, and they effectively won us a lot of MTV awards, and I guess if you're ever going to remember an INXS video, that's the one to remember.
You want my kind. Hallucinate to segregate.
It's a great atmospheric song, Mediate, and we were driving along in a couple of buses, and I think the film crew had a minivan behind the tour bus, and we were passing this sort of steel factory. I'd had all those placards all sort of done up in the homage to the Bob Dylan video. So we just stopped by this steel works, and it was a big cyclone wire fence, and I actually had the camera through the wires of the cyclone wire because the lens poking through, because we had no permission. And the boys all climbed over the cyclone wire, and I'm sort of looking through, go to the left, to the right, and we start the playback through the cyclone wire. We got 3 takes at it, and then security came and told us to bugger off, and didn't know what we were doing.
Richard's usually his submissions for a video is one paragraph of I'll invent some new technique, it'll be great, it'll cost X amount of money, and we always accept it because Richard's just the best video maker around.
The phone rang, said, oh, it's Richard Limestone. Yeah, Richard, what's up? He said, I want to go to Czechoslovakia. And I said, what? He said, yeah, there's a cemetery there, and I want to adopt this idea of a video. And I went, are you serious? Is there another cemetery we could use?
even though I was fascinated with a lot of those special effects techniques that we played with in What You Need and The Gift later on and some of those ones, I was also incredibly aware that some of INXS songs in particular were extremely just purely cinematic, or like soundtrack music, and Never Tear Us Apart was an obvious one where you're just going, okay, we've done some things that are all tricksy and everyone's going, gee whiz, but it's really time for a breather and time to sort of go, one beautiful shot in a beautiful location like it was a feature film.
You were standing, I was there. Two worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart.
INXS, was a video band, but ultimately I think we were also interested in providing, trying to provide images and looks and things that really had never been invented. Actually, we were looking for that, that edge.
We did this in Prague, Czechoslovakia, while it was behind the Iron Curtain. Richard Lowenstein and his crew, and Lynn Marie, fantastic artistic crew to work with. It was a very long day, and in fact, while we were doing that, we ran off, and in the hallway, in 20 minutes, we made a video for Guns in the Sky. Just, that's how long the day took. So I actually made 2 videos that day.
New Sensation, it was so, because it's freezing there, which I love. I mean, it's sometimes, because you sort of look and you think, oh yeah, they got a coat on, but you don't realise how cold it is. But that was just incredible. None of them ever complained or threw tantrums or anything.
It's the band I'm most proudest of, because it's the band I felt didn't just sort of go, oh, we'll give you one shot. They knew, or they seemed to know, that to get, the ones that really stood out, they'd have to nurture you through a few that, it's the same with the songs as well. They'd nurture you through a few songs where they didn't quite connect with the images, until you get that one, like Never Tear Us Apart, Need You Tonight, What You Need, even Burn For You, which is one of my favourites, where the sound and the pictures just go together into something that's actually becomes timeless.
Suicide Blonde, actually it was a lot of fun putting that video together. It's also the kind of song too that, because it's got a driving sort of beat and it's up, it's sort of easy to go for hours, which is what these things take, hours and hours and hours and hours and days to put together, but it doesn't look like that when you see it in 3 minutes.
They sent me Suicide Blonde, and I'm thinking, and I looked at the lyrics and everything, and I'm thinking this is about, the environment or just, something like it, so it seemed to be like that. And so I wrote up a treatment that didn't have any blondes in it, by the way. And I think we actually even shot that treatment, but we wrote up a treatment that was all in variety of natural landscapes and things, and that sort of reflected what I thought the song was about. And because again, it was one of those that the music didn't totally inspire me as cinematic images like, say, Never Tear Us Apart or Need You Tonight did. So I wrote up the treatment, then I arrived at the studio where they were doing it, and I was sort of saying, okay, now I might have got this wrong, but what's the song about? And I'm expecting some, it's about the environment and the destruction of the world or something. And Michael goes, well, it's about this girl who decides to dye her hair blonde.
No one gets through life without help from other people, and ultimately we're in a very fortunate position, both from being well, for me personally, to work with great musicians and writers and everything else, and that camaraderie that existed with us, but also that the people around us who were helping us all the time, and our manager at the time, Chris, and all those people, really, we've been very fortunate to have had a lot of people, very talented people, contribute their energies into our career.
The Gift was a song. They pulled me into the studio to listen to the album, and again, they, like Me Tonight, they said sort of, which one do you think can make the best video? And I'm a real sort of fan of those sort of like those wall of sound things, like The Gift and like the first Talking to a Stranger was, and Hunters and Peckers, and that was one I just immediately said, with the density of the sound and the layers and everything, I can really do something great. And it's also something that, I really felt I'd really like to have a go at laying sound effect on top of this song. And so I sort of developed this concept of the continual smashing and everything with stock footage that I could layer in a lot of sound effects and helicopter sounds and everything,
Just the way that Richard Lowenstein put this one together is just so clever. It's just so high energy, high impact. Pyromaniacs would love it. In fact, I think Beavis and Butthead really got off on this one. But just the whole bursting through the screen and the flames, it was just really, really high impact, and I love it, frankly, and I think it was very clever the way he did it.
The thing that I had with INXS that way beyond anything that happened with U2 or Pete Townsend or anything was that sense of family. And, I got to know the wives and girlfriends, and it was like when we'd rejoin them for another video, or, a lot of times I'd just be hanging out with them.
We did things at great momentum. A lot of bands went off the road. We'd come back and we'd be putting more videos out, more tours, more things. So, I think it's just a combination. I really do. It was just a great combination. We had great videos, and the band just, keep building their live side. The records got better, songs got better. We just got smarter.
In the dark of night, those small hours, uncertain and anxious, I need to call you.
Michael's performance in a lot of these videos is really extraordinary. He always would put 120% of effort into everything he was doing, including he'd be on top of the idea right from its inception, either with the director or with the band or all of us or whatever. And he was always very much aware of everything he was doing. He'd often talk about the camera shots and the look and the clothing, and he was very much a part of the stylization of a lot of these videos, and his contribution should be recognised really for the enormous talent that Michael Hutchence was in these videos.
In the dark of night, these faces, they haunt me. Well, I wish you were so close to me. Yes, I wish you were by